Hey, what's up, people? Pizowell here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray release for 1984's Splatter University. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie as well as a review of this Blu-ray release. And Splatter University, how to sum up Splatter University? It's got that kind of Grindhouse 42nd Street look and feel. It's very low budget. It was clearly a bunch of people who, not necessarily professional actors, not necessarily at the time, at least professional filmmakers, just trying to make a slasher movie. And it's a little rough around the edges, put it that way. But that's kind of Splatter University's charm. Now, the movie opens in a psychiatric hospital, a clearly very, very low budget psychiatric hospital where one of the inmates escapes by stabbing a doctor in the groin. He then puts on the doctor's white outfit it's covered in blood, but it's not as covered in blood as it should be, yet it's still plainly covered in blood. It's completely white and pretty much covered in blood, and yet the killer just, saunters right out of the place. Nobody seems to notice. I guess they thought it was just, ketchup. Maybe it was hot dog day in the cafeteria, and they thought he just spilled a bunch of ketchup all over him. From there, we jump to a couple of years later, and we're on this Catholic school campus, and one of the teachers is killed. She is stabbed in the breast. So within the first literally 10, 12 minutes of this movie, we've got a dude stabbed in the groin and a woman stabbed in the breast. This is what kind of movie Splatter University is. From there, we jump to the most confusing title card I've ever seen that says next semester, yesterday. So we've jumped around, we've gone forward in time, and then we've jumped back in time by a day. I've never seen a movie use that kind of, I've seen, 2 weeks later, a month later, you know what I mean? A year later. I've never seen next semester, yesterday. That's a new one on me. But we've got a new teacher on campus replacing the teacher that got murdered. And there's a killer on the loose, and the killer's knocking off pretty much all of the female students on campus who are promiscuous. You see where this movie is going. And Splatter University is loaded with tons of red herrings. Every priest at this school is just a complete creep. You've got the handsome faculty member who's kind of hot for the new teacher. They have kind of a thing going on, but there's clearly something in his past that's a little shady. So you've got all these red herrings everywhere. You've got some of the most detestable characters in this movie. There's like one likable character in this entire movie, and that is the star. What was her name? Francine Forbes. She's the only remotely likable character in this entire movie. The students are absolutely just awful, detestable human beings. For instance, you have one character who, once he discovers that one of his classmates, female classmates, a friend of his, no less, has been murdered, he's like, "Oh, that's too bad. I wanted to F her." You have another student who is angry about the teacher who was murdered last semester not because she was brutally murdered, but because her death made him have to change classes. And then you have the character of Wolf. Can you see why he's called Wolf in this movie? And all of the male characters, again, they're just gross, detestable, horrible people, but none of them die. None of the male characters in this movie die. They're awful, horrible people. In any other slasher movie, they would all be just annihilated. They would be obliterated. They would get horrible, horrible deaths in any other slasher movie. In this movie, they're just scot-free. It's the ladies in this movie who are all just victims. And then you've got the kills in this movie, which are basically every kill starts with the knife coming directly at the camera, which the first couple of times, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? You've got a low budget here. You don't have Tom Savini on staff for the effects in this movie either, but the knife at the camera gag gets really old. Then you have one of the most confusing killings I've ever seen, in which the killer slices the woman's forehead, not her throat, her forehead, which looks very painful. I'm sure would be very painful, but I don't think it would kill her. And it kills her instantly. And then we cut to a scene where her body is in a dumpster. All of her friends are walking by the dumpster. They realize that one character bought ginger ale instead of beer, so they're throwing these cans into the dumpster on top of their friend who's been killed by a slice across the forehead. And this movie it screams low budget. Very, very low budget. Literally every frame. Again, it's very rough around the edges. They play the same annoying song constantly throughout this movie. Again, I understand it was a low budget, but that song just gets in your head and you can't get it out. I was trying to, slice my own forehead open to pull that song out of my head. I could not get it out of my head. Now, as for the identity of the killer, it's pretty obvious who the killer in this movie is. I won't spoil anything, but it's pretty obvious who the killer in the movie is. We have this very kind of psycho-ish ending, and it's Splatter University. That's all I can say. It's Splatter University. Now, I can't say that Splatter University is a good movie. It is entertaining. It does have that, very low budget, very, people flying by the seat of their pants trying to make a slasher movie kind of feel, which gives it a certain level of charm, which is why it's a movie that I'd owned on DVD prior to this release and would pull off the shelves every now and again when I wanted just a down and dirty, super low budget kind of, again, grindhouse, 42nd Street kind of feeling slasher movie. This is definitely not a slasher movie for everybody. Even if you are a hardcore fan of 80s slasher movies, this may not be your cup of tea. I'm torn as to whether or not I can recommend it. I guess I'm going to recommend it because it is a movie, like I said, that I reach for and pull off the shelf every now and again to watch. It's a movie that I wanted to check out on this Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome, which is a very nice release from Vinegar Syndrome for this movie. But I don't know. I'll mildly recommend it with the caveat of, you know what I mean? It may not be your cup of tea. Just put it that way. This is a very nice Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome for Splatter University. It features a newly scanned and restored 2K restoration from the film's original 16mm negative. I've seen Splatter University on VHS. I've seen it on DVD. This is by far the best that Splatter University has ever looked and sounded. However, it's still very rough around the edges. I don't think the original negative for this film was stored. It wasn't stored in a vault somewhere. It was probably stored in the director's closet. So it is a little rough around the edges here and there, but overall, Vinegar Syndrome did a fantastic job with the 2K scan and restoration of Splatter University. The audio quality is also, again, a little rough around the edges, but Vinegar Syndrome did the best they could with what they had. As far as the picture quality, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. Same with the sound quality, a 3.5 out of 5. But again, this is the best Splatter University has ever looked and sounded, and probably will ever look and sound. As far as the presentation, we get some nice cover art there for Splatter University. The sleeve is reversible. This is a Blu-ray and DVD combo pack. On the reverse of the sleeve, we get the original artwork for the film that was on the VHS release for Splatter University. And that artwork features the lovely Elizabeth Caton from Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 and Friday the 13th Part 7. This is also a region-free release. It will play on any Blu-ray player in any region in the world, A, B, or C. As far as extras are concerned, first up, we get an audio interview with composer Christopher Burke. It's 35 minutes and 37 seconds in length. Mr. Burke discusses getting hired on as a PA on Mother's Day by Charles Kaufman, Lloyd Kaufman's brother, and how that led to him getting the gig to do the music for Splatter University. He discusses the recording process for Splatter University and being inspired by the music from the film Carnival of Souls and Tangerine Dream. He discusses the proliferation of synthesizers in music of the 80s. He discusses working on a lot of horror films of the 80s for Troma, for Lucio Fulci, and for Enzo Castellari. He discusses being very critical of his score for Splatter University. He also discusses the cult status of the movie today and more. Very nice interview with Mr. Burke. We get the original trailer for the film, a TV spot, radio spots, a still gallery, the theme song, and a script gallery for the film. We get two audio commentaries, one with The Hysteria Continues, and the other audio commentary is with director Richard W. Haynes, which features special appearances by makeup effects artist Amodio Giordano and star Francine Forbes. I listened to the commentary with Mr. Harris, Mr. Giordano, and Ms. Forbes. It also includes excerpts from the audio interview with composer Christopher Burke. Very informative commentary. There were some gaps, some moments of silence here and there, but Mr. Haynes goes in depth on a lot of really interesting topics, especially if you are wanting to get into filmmaking, particularly low budget filmmaking. And I found it pretty entertaining commentary overall. This is a very nice Blu-ray release for Splatter University from the fine folks over at Vinegar Syndrome. If you've not seen Splatter University, I recommend it with the caveat that it may not be your cup of tea. This Blu-ray would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you're a fan of Splatter University, you definitely want to look into picking up this Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. The picture quality and the sound quality is the best this movie has ever or probably will ever look or sound. We've got a really nice commentary with the director, a really nice interview with the composer, and a very nice presentation for the film. Also, DVD and Blu-ray combo pack, region-free. Very nice release for Splatter University from Vinegar Syndrome. If you've seen Splatter University, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Join the $1 a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, Orc145626, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Mitch Odell, Farron Sutton, Craig Farrand, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Joseph Charlesworth, Chris Earls, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Tim Williams, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Mr. Bibby86, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Cliff Hostetter, Kyle McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Lauren Dixon, Travis Davis, Dave Barnes, Jonathan Lundy, Chris Parsons, Chris Gonzalez, Trenton Bowser, Alan Scott, and Vic Corbin. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.